Good morning. Hello, Nito. Everyone tuning in, hoping I talk about their team. Vast majority of you are going to be disappointed. If I were to talk about 462 teams, I wonder how long that would actually take. And there's no way I could accurately. I'll give you guys spoiler alert since you're here early. Divs like 9, maybe mostly like Div 8 through Div 11 is just me saying, this is what I think about this team's name, because there's just not a lot of information to go off of. This is as close to a complete comprehensive review of all things LUTI as you could possibly get from top to bottom. Yes, for those of you who want to follow along, the notes that I've written down and are gonna be using as a guide. If you're wondering how I get from this gargle mess to what I actually say, the mic's muted? What do you mean the mic muted? Oh, okay. Cool. Don't scare me like that. Anyways, if you want to know how I get from this broken gargle mess of handwriting to actually what I say, it's pretty much how we go through everything. Like every notes that I kind of read are like that. I just kind of, the notes, sometimes they are kind of cut and dry, and sometimes they only make sense to me as to what I'm going to say. But if you want to follow along, I guess you can. What I post on Twitter is literally what I'm going to be reading off of or using as a guide. By the way, does anyone know the name of this song? I'm not playing Splatoon music anymore. I'm just going to start doing Super Nintendo stuff. All right, I don't have time to do the usual intro, blah, 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 hello, friends, welcome back, all that stuff. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, and I'm trying to knock all of this out in an hour. So we're going to get right into it, wasting absolutely zero time. We are going to be previewing / predicting all of LUTI today. Div X down to Div 11. Every single div, every single group. Not every single team, but for the most part, you'll at least see your team up on screen at some point, even though I might not say something about your team. We're going to start off with Div X first, and spoiler alert, if you're here for Div 8 through 11, I am going to talk about it to some extent. Just don't expect super in-depth analysis on those divs. Those divs are mostly unproven players / teams who are trying to make a name for themselves this season. But we'll get to that when we get to that. Starting off with the correct stream, we're starting off with Div X. As I mentioned on Monday's episode of the Popcast, no Starburst, no Sayonara, no Kyo pickup, no Leafy pickup, no Obito pickup. There was an Obito pickup that signed up originally and ultimately dropped. If there was still there, I feel like that team would dominate this. But this is a little bit more wide open, and I'm more excited about this entire div as a whole after seeing what took place this past weekend in the Nintendo tournament and Proving Grounds. Seafoam being down here at the bottom, one of those teams that was kind of iffy, didn't really have that strong of a tournament in the Splatamax tournament. In fact, one of the reasons Rising Wave is in here is because Seafoam allowed them to be up in here. But Seafoam had a really good Proving Grounds tournament, beat DNA, even though you could argue that DNA was throwing to some extent. Doesn't matter. DNA is a Div X caliber team, and Seafoam beat them on paper. We all see it right in front of our face. Tempest has some really strong results in multiple tournaments. Probably their most impressive one is beating Alliance Rogue, who isn't here. That's another team I mentioned that is capable of winning this entire div that didn't sign up here. Heller, I really wished Heller played in that Proving Grounds tournament because I wanted to see them go up against some of these other teams that played. They signed up and then dropped and then signed up and then dropped again, and it was like, but they're still a DivX caliber team, and I feel like this whole group is just the toss-up, except for White Noise, Jared, April, Taco, and Orion as the number one seed here is correct. Potato, or Potito, I guess, Phoenix, Ellis, Meyer, and Ronan, like Right Noise. The real story here, though, even though this team is probably, I think it's going to be coming down to this team and White Noise, Potato and White Noise. I mean, Ascension had a really good Nintendo tournament. In Light, the roster players that are on that, I believe that's Oscar highlighting that group. Those players are always strong. But the point of this is not who's going to win this div. It's more so the continued growth of Seafoam, Rising Wave, and Tempest. And what their future outside of LUTI is going to be is probably going to be put on display here in this tournament. But I think it's going to be chalk for this one right here. DivX usually doesn't have a lot of surprises. Whoever's at the top usually stays at the top. So I would expect White Noise / Potato I'm going to give it to White Noise. I'm going to say they're the team that wins this div, but it should come down to these two at the top. But I wouldn't be surprised if one of these other teams, especially Ascension, were to crack that grand finals, especially since it's a one-day tournament now and not the usual tournament they've had in the past. But experience is what it is. I like White Noise and Potato to go out and through that. Div 1, here's where we look at each individual group. Group A, oh my goodness, this is a bloodbath of a group. This is, how can you justify, I mean, Nightmare being at number 1, yes, that's justifiable, but how can you sit here and look me in the face and say they're going to easily hold on to their spot over Narwhal, Smoothie, and Full Send? And, I think this changed a little bit here from what I initially had. I think Salute was, when I looked at this yesterday, Salute was in here. Is Salute just straight up gone? They are. So Slow Start is now up in here. I don't know if Salute dropped or what, but now Slow Start's in here. And that makes this div even more interesting because Slow Start, that's the team that had the players change their IGNs, and they were like, "Why are we in Div 2?" This is the Ant and Seth team, I believe. So that makes this Group A even more of a nightmare for Nightmare to deal with. This is a pick 'em. You pick any team you want to win this group, and you're likely to do it because I feel like everybody's got a shot here. Narwhal, if I had to go with a team, now that I see Slow Starts here, Slow Start is making the playoffs. That's straight up happening. And between these three teams will be the ones that make the final spot. I don't want to sit here and come across as a homeboy for Smoothie, but the more Smoothie plays and the more experience they're going to get and the more they figure out how that new Carbon Deco is going to work into the comp that they like to use, the run and gun style they got. I feel like they got a good chance, and I know they've beaten Narwhal Gaming before, but Narwhal Gaming has something that Nightmare doesn't have or any of these other teams, longevity and experience. That plays a role in this kind of thing, so I'll give the nod slightly to Narwhal here. Group B. Now, I don't know everything about all these players that signed up for these tournaments. This is probably one of those divs where somebody from the European side took charge and said, I'm going to tell you where all these players go. Unlucky won an SAC tournament, won an SAC qualifier, but didn't have enough points in that season to actually move on to make the grand final tournament of that SAC tournament. So Unlucky finds themselves up top here. Unhinged has a bunch of +2 players, and the players where these all come from, Heritage, The Root, and Throne. So Unhinged being up top here is probably accurate based off of just their pedigree alone. Booyah Gang always has strong results. They're always a team whenever they play in some sort of paddling pool or Dapple's EU tournament where they're always making deep runs. This is a name I see up there a lot. But we'll just go with chalk up here. Unhinged Unity is going to be moving on. Group C, Mango Hack Mac is a team that won the off-season SAC tournament. There's a lot of recent SAC stuff making their representation here in Div 1. It makes me wonder, what are these players not in like a plus? I guess this is like +2 where you have to be banned from, but it just shows like anybody basically can play in SAC. You can be Div 1 up top here. Spark is the team that's going to get all the attention no matter what. No matter how good they actually are or not. They have the most popular person in the entire community on their team, dude. So Spark is always going to get the attention. And they're good enough to be Div 1 for sure. Nemesis should win this one, though. Nemesis up top here is correct. I don't know if Spark holds on to the spot. Syntopia has improved dramatically since they got banned from low ink. Cascade Drut Crew, they've improved dramatically since they've been playing in low-level tournaments since then as well. But this is a tough group for them to be in, but I like Nemesis here as well. Group D, Hex is Zero, Rapid, Violet, Ceph, and Sinnoh. So is this basically just a reincarnation of Rising Matrix? It's possible, and that team was always strong. That team was going to be Div 1 last season, and then they dropped right before the tournament started. Now, you don't want to just sit here and say, well, this is the same exact roster as that last time. No, it's Hex now, which is a team name, I guess. I really like Michelin Heroes, though. You can never go wrong with Michelin Heroes. Like Nalwall Gaming, like Rising Wave, they've been playing for a long, long, long time, and that helps them out a lot in these kinds of situations. I know Prelude had a really good run in Proving Grounds, and that's probably why they got this spot right here. But Cherry Limeade has actually won Proving Grounds. Here's what my concern with Cherry Lime is, though. They won that Proving Grounds tournament when they figured out, oh, Glugas has a really good kit, and we have a player that really knows how to use Glugas better than anybody. Oh, Brush has a really good kit, and we have a really good Brush player. Let's just do that, and we auto-win. But now there's new weapons out there. I'm really concerned that Cherry Limeade is going to overthink this LUTI season. Giving them more time to figure things out is, in my opinion, going to work against them. I think you're going to see some crazy jank roll out there. I wouldn't be surprised if they use some sort of swig roller or something, and Michelin Heroes is just going to be like, oh, okay, thanks, we'll take the win there. I stand to be corrected, but if I'm being totally honest here, I feel like Cherry Limeade is going to overthink this. As much as there is to think about in these kinds of tournaments, sometimes you don't want it. Sometimes just the cookie cutter, what you figured out is best. That doesn't mean you're not going to do good, because I am going to pay attention to every single set Cherry Limeade plays, and I know you guys are as well, because it's going to be interesting to see. Tukey 2, this is where they earn their stripes. They got the spot here in Div 1. This isn't the same Tukey. Obviously, it's Tukey 2. We'll see what they can do here. Div 2. Originally, I had Slow Start in here, but as you can see, they are gone. Replacement pending, so I don't know who's going to be taking this spot from Slow Start. So now there's only 5 teams in here, at least as far as Group A is concerned. If you're wondering who Defrost is, and I was kind of wondering this myself until I looked at the roster, this is the Delicious Nuggets. Just, I believe it's just the same exact roster, just rebranded a little bit there. So there you go. Delicious Nuggets making their representation up here. Twilight Cruzada is a team I underseeded in a couple of Proving Ground tournaments, and they pulled off a lot of massive upsets. They beat Rising Wave in one of those tournaments. I feel like they're capable of beating anybody here and getting a playoff spot. Honeycomb, a lot of these players, correct me if I'm wrong, they were playing in low ink earlier this year, and now they're already up to Div 2 level. That's impressive. This is where they'll earn their stripes, though, see if they can knock off any of these teams. Group B. Unlimited Woomy United has some really great results recently, most notably the past month. If you were looking at what they would do in SAC, you were like, wow, that's impressive, but what have you done for me lately? And what they've done lately is notable. That's why they're up top here at the beginning of this group. But this is still a really tough group for them to hold on to their spot to. Bad is probably underrated to some extent. This NKT team, I believe this is mostly that NKT Definitivo team that has been skyrocketing up the charts. And Synergy, I don't know what their roster is compared to when they were dominating SAC last season. And Carnival is, I feel like Carnival, even though they're at the number 6 here, I feel like they're a dark horse to take a playoff spot in this one. That Carnival roster, that A2P fiction fun group coming together to make this, they're really strong. I would know firsthand. I played with them in Low Tide City and we got 5th place. I feel like these guys can make a play. Unlimited Woomy United, though, I mean, unless you don't know what's coming, these guys could catch you off guard. But I always feel like in LUTI seasons, when you do homework on your opponent, you can figure out what's coming. That might lower Uwu's advantage they have over these teams beginning. But I wouldn't count out these bottom 2 teams from this group just because they're at 5 and 6. Sequoia would not be a Div 2 team if they just won 1 or maybe 2 of those Game 3s. They lost so many Game 3s in that Fluties tournament that they played in that kept them out of playoffs. And it's just like, man, that sucks for them, because if they just got to win here or there, they wouldn't even be in this Div. But now that they're here and they're going to, I'm sure those losses they took are going to make them better and motivate them. I see Sequoia making it out of this group alive for sure. Azult probably is a strong contender to make it out in a second. I like Vivid. The more we see of Vivid, that's Rizza, Eclipse, and Kara that are making up some of the players on this team. I feel like Vivid isn't a lock, but they should be a favorite to make it out of this group as well. In Control, Red Sun. You guys are you're gonna know every time that Red Sun takes a loss in this tournament because everybody here is gonna tweet about it like they just won the Super Bowl. That's just how it is with Red Sun now. But I wouldn't be surprised if Red Sun was able to find a way to get some wins here. Liar 6 is really strong coming out of things as well. Do I have anything about the Bazooka team? I don't think I do. Regardless, though, give me Sequoia, give me Vivid to come out of this group. Group D, Everest, the team down here that the number 4 spot, got second in Div B of LUTI. Big Monkey Men, though, are really good. One of the results they have listed is a 3-0 result over Syntopia, which last year would not have been that impressive, but this year really is. Big Monkey Men, I'll give them the credit here. And we'll give Everest the slot at the other one as well. I've seen Sori in Phase 2 before, and this is mostly an EU group that we have here. But I feel like Big Monkey Men and Everest are be the ones that I'll go with that. Group D. Group 3 of Division 3. It's not a thing. All right, so this team name threw me off when I first saw it because I was like, did the Smoothie rebrand? No, there's Smoothie, and then there's just straight up Orange Smoothie. Okay. The only notable player that I'm aware of on Orange Smoothie is Rocky. So there you go. Rocky's making a representation there. Hello, Rocky. However, Synthwave. If you're wondering who these guys is, this is Blazing Storm, the team that won Low Ink back in March. That's improved a lot since then, has gone on to become Div, what are we at? We're still at Div 3 that we're looking at right here. Other than that, I don't really have much info. I've seen Clip Twitter play in some NA tournaments before. But I like the fact that Synthwave is still here. That Blazing Storm team was really strong. I'll give them credit as one of my teams to go up here, but I don't feel confident saying much about anybody else in this group at this time. Group B. Valiant has improved dramatically since they've played in their since they got banned from Low Ink. I like them to get the spot over Wipeout Punks. And then I also like Juice or Espresso to be the team that takes that second place spot. Espresso, another one of those teams that is made up of some players that were banned of Low Ink about a year ago, has come together and has formed something that is, I think, better than fifth in this group. Downey, however, I guess I should backtrack in what I say. I'll say this. I think Downey might actually be the dark horse to win this entire division. Downey has players that are from Dreamscape. And if you recall Dreamscape, they went totally undefeated 2 seasons ago in their div. And I think they didn't lose a single set in their div last year as well. They might have lost one in group stage, but they made it all the way to grand finals of Div 2. And that was a div where the grand finals didn't actually play. Both teams just quit, I guess. I don't know. It's like whatever. But it's not the same exact 100% Dreamscape roster. But those players know how to win sets in LUTI. And I played against them, and I was up 2-0 against them confidently. And then they came storming back. They just, for whatever reason, they can't be put away in 9 games. So I will give this team at the bottom here my dark horse to win this entire division. Group C, Eventide and Nightfarers. As much as I love Kraken Mare, who pays my bills with IPL, I'm going to like these two teams to take the spot over them and make the playoffs. How about that, Kraken Mare? Eventide has a great roster that needs more time in the oven, but the more they play, the more they're going to figure things out. Nightfarers, call me a homeboy because Daybreak is on this team. If you want, Nightfarers does have quality results that warrant me suggesting that they're going to win this div. Makashira, don't come at me this time. You got placed in the correct div. You're no longer in the bottom div of this one. So there you go. Group D. Helios. Now I've known of Helios before, but when I actually commentated them on stream during the Proving Grounds European qualifier, I figured out who they were. It's the Squid Killers, basically. Not the same exact team, but mostly the players from Squid Killers, half of which won that Inked Killers low ink back over the summer. That's why they're up top here at number 1. The Flying Dutchman is a really fun pick if you want to come out of this group. But I like the Hood. They got lots of wins above their current div right now. If you currently care about those kinds of things, I don't know. But the Hood has a lot of quality wins to them. I'll give them and Helios my nod. Sorry, Data. My apologies, but I still like Evening Tide and Night Fairs. Don't give me that face. Div 4. Now, this is where these things are going to take a little bit of time. There are 8 groups in each div going down until Div 11. It's been 19 minutes already. Div 4, Toons had a really strong showing in Super Jump. They are a DSB Div 1 team and has the capability of winning this entire one. Elevate is former players of Ink Alpha. More highlighted, I guess the player you guys might know would be Genie, one of the more prominent commentators that we have in this scene. Ink Alpha, back when they were playing, was a really strong team. Don't get that confused with Ink Sigma. So these players have some experience above Div 4, if not recent experience is probably what they're lacking. Sia, this is your first test. You won low ink last time. Congratulations, you got in Div 4. By the way, I did say that I felt like some teams that won Div 1 low ink were going to get in Div 5. There weren't enough teams that signed up for that. If like some more teams were put in Div X that I talked about weren't there probably would have been some teams. Probably not CSC would have been a solid Div 4. As you see, they're right here in the middle of this group. But this is where all eyes are going to be on. When you win a tournament like low ink, everybody's going to be gunning for you. Everybody's going to be trying to get wins for you, and everyone's going to give you the red sun treatment whenever you lose. So they're in a tough spot right here. But I like these two to stay at the top and make it out of this group. Group 3, Orbit handles all of these guys. I'm giving this group into Orbit. I'm worried about Citria. It comes down to what did they learn from that low ink thing? Now that they have more time to actually come up with ideas and plan out their comps ahead of time, I think that's going to help them out more. But if they come out there with that random weapon nonsense they use in low ink, this is not going to go very well. These teams are not low ink teams. They beat comps like that if you're not ready for it. Echo. I had something written down about Echo. Oh, this is the team that's got Lappy on it. Big fan of Lappy after what I saw them do at Riptide. I feel like this is a good opportunity for them to make a legit name for themselves. Of course, you can't go along with Splat-A-Lot A, but this isn't the same exact Splat-A-Lot A roster than what they had when they won low ink. Things are a little bit different. We'll see how they go here. But look who's at the bottom. It's everybody's favorite, Blue Moon. And I've saw some people claim Blue Moon are straight up going to win this div. I don't know. Well, that's yet to be seen. But everybody's going to keep an eye on Blue Moon because we like we stand them here. But this is just like an old band from low ink kind of thing. But Orbit beats them all. I think Orbit beats all of them. Group C. So this was pending as of yesterday, and it still is right now. So nothing's really changed up top here. I feel sus about Inked being at number 2 here. I know Inked Killers won that low ink, but when Inked has played just by their original roster, it's Div 4 caliber, but it hasn't been curb stompy impressiveness that we used to see out of some other teams that have won low ink as of late. Umbra Hunters is probably the team that I'm going to pick to get out of here. This Spotted team is going to be my other team that I'm going to give credit to for getting out of this one. It's got Splatver on it. And you can't go wrong whenever you got Splatford on your team. Sub Power Up, of course. We like Sub Power Up, the former ITAP players that have all mostly graduated, I guess, coming up here holding the spot. They're going to be tricky. They're going to be a team that knows how to game plan. They're going to be a team that knows how to get through this LUTI season. But this is a tough group that they're in right here. And I don't know who's going to be taking this final spot up top. And obviously that'll change things for the better. But with your number one seed being gone, it's kind of leaves things open. But Umbra Hunters and the Spotted team are going to be my picks for this. Group D, All-Star Squad, ass. I am big fans of this team, not just because they got some quality wins in the Proving Ground America's qualifier, but because in this tournament alone, this tournament specifically, they have Sir Skit on their roster, and I know personally how good Sir Skit actually is. Give All-Star Squad a playoff spot right here. Clean Laundry is probably safe to hold on to the other spot as well, but you can't go wrong with Squids of the Filth. They show up every now and then, make you forget that they did exist, and then make you wonder if they were ever actually a thing to begin with, only to come back several months, if not a year later, and remind you of who they are. They have a shot here. But All-Star Squad, Clean Laundry, I'm going to give it to these two for now. Group E, how the heck did InkSync get all the way up in Div 4? I didn't try hard enough to keep them out, or I got outruled. JK, InkSync deserves this spot right here. They got quality results. That's why quality results in Speed Ladder that made us say we had to ban these guys from Low Ink. Being all the way up top here in this group, this is a winnable group for them, if I'm being totally honest. 3/4 Cats, though, is the team that interests me, because this is the team that's got some of those members that were on that Splat-A-Lot A team that won that Low Ink a couple of months ago. Most notably, Crow, who is a player I completely forgot about till I saw their name show up on this roster. So 3/4 Cats are a dark horse to win this one. But the most intriguing team is the most oldest team in this entire group, and that is the Grillers, who have been around for 4 freaking years right now and have become even older in age because they've recently added Sigurd to their roster. And that makes me really curious how to see that. As a Hydra player myself, I don't particularly like playing with rollers because that's just less paint that we have to work with. But I have played in several tournaments with Sigurd, several pickup tournaments with Sigurd, and it's been successful. The thing with Sigurd is you just got to keep the game going long enough. You just got to make sure you don't get KO'd. If you just stay in the game and keep the score relatively close, at some point, Sigurd is going to get a quad, and the game is going to end to your favor. So if the Grillers can just keep these games going long enough, they're going to work into their favor, because eventually that old sucker is going to pop off. I like... I'll say InkSync hold on to a spot. We'll do that. But I think the Grillers' new roster is really good. I'll give them credit for taking this other spot. Sorry, 3/4 Cats, but I think you're the underdog in this scenario. Group F. Pico is Lord Espo, Patat, Lord Espo, who the hell is that? Lord Esper, Patat, Jin Storm, and that's this team that's up top here. I feel like this is wide open. I like Silly Kitties to probably find a way to get out of this group alive. In Drifting Tide, yes, I've constantly picked Drifting Tide to win Low Ink. There's a reason why Drifting Tide is in Div 4 and not Div 5. It's because they play in tournaments outside of skill cap things and they get credible results. Drifting Tide, underseeded last LUTI season, correctly seeded this time around. They're the biggest question mark going forward. Silly Kitties, though, I feel like is just I wouldn't say the lock, but they're definitely, I don't see Silly Kitties not being one of the top 2 teams in this group right here. Squeezer probably a little bit of a dark horse as well to try to make something happen. Pico, I mean, they got a roster that can get out of this group as well. It's just these 2 teams I feel like are mysteries, even though we've seen Drifting Tide a lot. How they play at this actual skill level is what the mystery is. And I feel like they could either be really good or really horrible. Group G, the Sassy Spikers are loaded with players who have solid results. Stargaze is a team that has made the playoffs in Div 3 a couple of seasons ago, and they got Avril back, who was on that roster when they made the playoffs several seasons ago. So this group, you would think it is a lock for these 2 teams to move on right here. However, Square Up, I am a big fan of Square Up, and I feel like they're going to steal a spot from one of these 2 teams. It's not to say Cyclone can't hold on this spot right here, but I feel like Square Up has the most upside, and I would not be surprised if Square Up either knocks one of these two teams out or both of them and finds their way up into the group. Group H. This is Cherry Dolphins, who have improved a lot. They won low ink 2 months ago, and they did it in pretty much dominant fashion until InkSync went all InkSync on them and almost scared the daylights out of them. But Cherry Dolphins up on top of this group is a solid way to consider them moving out of this group. Comet has potential to go up top here as well. Swaglight Ohio is confusing because there was one team called Swaglight Ohio that changed their name, and then this team took that name. So it's some branding issues going on with that. Shinobi Squad is a really strong French team, I believe. I took notes down here, but I didn't write them all the way down, but I got them in my head. And if you're ex-Port Raccoon, this is basically Port Raccoon to some extent coming back here. Cherry Dolphins at the top of this group is interesting to me. That probably means they got a really strong results in Europe recently that I didn't notice. So we'll give them some credit right there. But I like the experience of Port Raccoon, even though they're all the way down here at number 6. Number 5. Div 5. Myopsidus wins this group. Sorry, if anybody thinks otherwise. Yes, Myopsidus has constantly complained about the LUTI, the low ink format. Well, guess what? This is the exact opposite of the low ink format. You got 9 games to figure this out. They got their roster. They got a strong roster. They're capable of winning low ink. They just haven't done it yet, but they're going to find a way to win this group. Sorry, Alliance of the Dam. I know you got the capability of doing things as well, but you're in a tough group here. Opium is made up of players that was in that RNA team. Team Biscuits really surprised me with how well they played in the last low ink, making all the way to alpha bracket. I like Myopsidus here. If you had to make a toss-up, it's between Alliance of the Dam and Opium, with Team Biscuits being a team that could steal a spot from either one of them. Group B, this is full of teams that I didn't exactly know going into the seeding council. In fact, I believe a couple of these teams left absolutely no information, and I originally had them in my Div 11. It's only because other people, mainly from Europe, caught who these players were and got them into what I assume is the correct div. Crescent Knight is a team that did play in low ink. They did draw. No, they didn't show up for the first game of top 32, and they lost that, and then they won the next 2 in their group and made a decent run in alpha bracket. So Crescent Knight being up top here, the second will give them the nod here. Squadra Azura, though, these guys won Div 6 2 seasons ago. And that was a tough div to win. I believe that was another one of those 48-team divs that they had in Div 11. So Squadra Azura, when that Div 6, proves that you have experience winning this kind of tournament, which is completely different from any other tournament. If you guys never played in a LUTI before, you can't compare it to anything else. Not even the CCA. It's not like that at all. So that kind of experience, I think, gives Squadra Azura the nod in this group as well. Group C, Sekiznaga has always been a strong team. They haven't been playing much as of late, but they've always been strong whenever they've been playing in things. I've always had them in my low ink top 10 back when they were playing in low ink. I don't know how much they've been playing recently, though, but there's a lot of good other teams here. Ink in the System is probably more recent. Neon Palm Tree, probably more recent. Mylag Paradise, we haven't seen what these guys have been incapable of in the couple of months. They keep signing up for LUTI and low ink and having to drop. So we got some questions about where Mylag Paradise could end up in this group. Ink in the System clearly, though, is the team of today, but don't count out Intimidation Factor. I feel like Intimidation Factor at the number 2 spot here is a little generous. But this is from these 4 teams in particular, it's going to be the one that comes out of the group. Sorry, Spectra. Sorry, Mylag Paradise. But there's just less question marks about these teams at this time. Group D, we have yet to see Photic Zone do anything. I think they played in like a Squid Junction or something and, got results you would expect from a Div 5 team. But we haven't seen them play in low ink. We haven't seen them play in anything kind of, they might have played in a Flutie or a Speed Ladder. But this is basically that that Popsicle team that was making some waves in Low Ink recently. But teams that were making waves, Crimson Waves in particular. This is some sort of rebranding of Crimson Quake, and a lot of people are really high on Crimson Wave. Banana Basics, though, I feel like is the team that is going to threaten to win this entire div. That one Low Ink that they played in, was really impressive, and they play in tournaments outside of Low Ink. They got, I believe they made a Hammerhead at some point in a SOS tournament. So give me this, guys. Give me Crimson Waves. Jelly Squids have been a slow burn. They've been proving at a slow rate, and I don't think it's going to be quick enough to overjump some of these other teams. But Banana Basics and Crimson Wave, give these my two to go out. Photic Zone is the dark horse. Group E. What's interesting about this group, you got Thunderstrike, who was in Div 4 last season, I believe, but couldn't play all the way through that div. Ultimately dropped out, but they're a strong team in their own right. Infinity Rain has some really impressive results. Yeah, they won Delta bracket. It was either Delta or Gamma the last Low Ink. It doesn't matter. They just had a bad Saturday, but they proved they belong in here with a good Sunday, and their other results they have leading up to this. What's interesting about this, though, is Acropora and Black Komodo being in the same div, and I had nothing to do with this, but Devil and Black Komodo used to be on Acropora, and after they left Acropora, there were a lot of question marks about, okay, how much did they need this Slayer to make the rest of their comp work out together? And now they go up against each other at some point. You talk about storylines, why you should care about these things. Acropora versus Black Komodo, there's some storylines there. They'll be interesting. But give me Thunderstrike and give me Infinity Rain over Pixelated because Infinity Rain has more recent results. Group F, Red Pacific is going to win this group. These guys are crazy strong. They don't get enough credit. I feel like I caught them and put them in my top 10 of Low Ink last time, and they're going to be in top 10 going forward forever. Splat-A-Lot Imbeciles. Okay, you told us that this was when you were getting those bad results in Low Ink. You said this is not the roster that we had. Okay, well, here you are. You get to pick your day. You get to pick your time. You get to show us who you actually are. They were Div 5 caliber for what... Div 5 potential, and that's why they're here. But show us who you actually are. Are you that 3-3 Low Ink team, or are you a contender? There's no excuses in this LUTI season. You get to pick the dates and times. Everyone should be available for this. And quite honestly, if they do, I'll give Splat-A-Lot Imbeciles the spot in this one. Red Pacific and the Imbeciles coming out here. That's not to discredit Calamari. Thimbo IHOP, I think there's more questions just about their roster in particular. Not their roster, but just the fact that we haven't seen them play a lot recently. Lost Inklings, my team is subbing. My wife is subbing for this team. And this team has the most, I believe they're tied with Dale Sushi with the most LUTI appearances all time. So that does pay. They're the most experienced LUTI team of all time with that kind of credit to their name. But I don't think it's enough to overcome the Imbeciles or Red Pacific here. If the Imbeciles show us who they really are. Group G, Marine Melody has really been popping off as of late, and they deserve the spot that they got right here. Waterfront hasn't gotten the same kind of Low Ink results that some of these other teams have, probably a little bit more than Surf and Turf. But who is got Aquatic Vanguard down here at the 6th spot? Yes, Aquatic Vanguard has been finicky when they play in tournaments, but I think they got their roster a little bit more consistent now, and this team is a lot better than number 6 of this group. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and say right now that Aquatic Vanguard is going to make it out of this group. Marine Melody, yes, they're good right now, but I'm not crazy convinced that means they can hold on to this spot. Surf and Turf or Waterfront might be the ones who come out of top right here. And I've seen somebody else had Outclassed at the top. My apologies. I just don't know much about Outclass, so they might be better than everyone here for all I know. But I know one thing's for sure. Aquatic Vanguard is escaping this group at the number 6 spot. Group H, Sanguine Seas will play great in this tournament. The first time we saw them play in Low Ink, they were getting the job done. Making it into alpha bracket and performing really well on stream, and I'm glad they lost before I commentated because there's Sanguine Seas is a tongue twister for me to say. I just called them the C team, I guess. Painty Shock, claims that they are one of the top 3 teams in all of Italy. I have not been paying attention to the Italian scene. I don't know how good that is. If you're the top 3 teams in France, that means you're like beyond Div X level. But top 3 teams in Italy, I guess, is Div 5. So they're down here as well. Arithmetic, they're the number 1 team. I know absolutely nothing about them. I'll be honest with you on that. But I do know Sanguine Seas. But if they're down here at the number 6, I'm not going to predict this group. This group is pretty wide open as far as the knowledge that I have. Moving on to Div 6, 40 minutes. I don't know if I'm going to finish this on time. Div 6 has OK, which is a DSB Div 2 team. However, there is also another team here everyone knows and love. It is the Boston Squid Party, who is made top 32 last time. They won the underground play-in match to make the top 32. Well, fell all the way to beta bracket, but still, they've been proving a lot as of late. But I feel like them down here at number 6 of this group is totally fair. Okay, having DSB experience similar to Low Ink will give them the nod into this group, but don't know much out about any of these other teams. I hate you for making your team name so wrong and kind of ruining the LUTI Council sign-in sheet, or the sheet that we were looking at there. I just called them Happy Meal. So there they are. Group B. Here's my hot take for this group. Epsilon is going to win all of Div 6. Go ahead and clip it, put it wherever. I'm giving Epsilon this entire freaking div. I felt like when they won that Delta bracket a couple of months ago, that was a red herring to some extent. And when they went all the way to making Alpha bracket and threatened to win Low Ink all of last month, you could have very easily made the case for them to be Div 5. Instead, they fall down here to Div 6. They're going to win this div. The other spot that's going to come down here, Squid Emoji does have a player from the Delicious Nuggets that was on the roster when they won that Low Ink, so there's some credit there. Joke Raiders enveloping Heap a little bit more relevant. I believe all these teams to some extent has made either an alpha or beta bracket as of late, but Epsilon's going to win not just this group. I'm picking them to win the whole div. Group C. I don't think the Geek Squids was in here when I looked at this last time. This is not the same Geek Squid. Actually, the Geek Squid roster that was in Low Ink was not the one that was banned. All those players that were banned from Low Ink like a year or so ago. So I don't know 100% if they're using that same Low Ink roster or they're bringing in some other players that used to be on that Geek Squid squad, like if Bowen's playing for them or not. So I'm not going to say anything about them. Instead, I'm just going to stick to the notes that I had here. The rest of them, really strong Low Ink results. Star Squids, the Star Squids with an exclamation point. The Star Squids! These guys made Alpha Bracket at some point as well. And I don't know if this team's still playing or not at the bottom. There's a lot of just administrative question marks I have about this group. I'll give it the Star Squids for now, but I reserve the right to change things later. Group D, Kingmaker is very curious here. Very curious about Kingmaker for a couple of reasons. One, we haven't seen them play in any tournaments in a hot minute. And B, what weapons are they going to use? There's only 3 brush weapons that you can use in the game, right? Now, the vanilla brush is really strong, and I don't think there's any reason to use anything other than vanilla brush, but if they want to get cute and use hammer, they can. If they want to use the zip caster, they can. So there's still a lot of question marks. How do they even, I'm assuming they own a copy of Splatoon 3, but how is their brush comp going to work out against these things? I think they still make it out of their group regardless. The Krusty Crew is going to get better as the season goes on because they're just getting back into the game, so they got an opportunity to make something. Ink Vader is probably one of the more experienced teams in this entire LUTI setting. But Mystical Inc. has won Div 8 before, and that was when Div 8 was kind of weird. So Mystical Inc. is probably the dark horse to make it out of this group. I'll give the edge to Kingmaker to still find a way to make it out of this group, but they have a lot of question marks going surrounding them right now. Group E, Polyamorous Gamership is the team that's all the way down here in the 5th spot. Guess what? They're making it out of this group, not as a number 2 team, as a number 1. This team is winning this group straight up. No offense to Last Ditch Effort or Haku Nova. last-ditch effort, being one of the more experienced mid-ish lower-level teams for those of you who want to break down low-level any more. Haku Nova, I forgot to write down notes about them, but I know they played in Loic recently. But Polyamorous Gamership, they're winning this group. I don't see how they don't. Group F, the Rolling Squids have been rolling as of late, and I feel like they're going to keep that rolling going on here. I don't know if they're going to make playoffs straight up, but I think they're definitely going to finish in the top 3. The problem is June made Alpha Bracket last low ink, so them all the way down here at the 6th spot is suspicious. I feel like this should be switched. I feel like Clownfish and June should be swapped up top here. You can't count out Shark Reef. And Kappa is another one of those teams that hasn't played in a while but has come back. And just like the Krusty Crew, the more they're going to play, the better they're going to get. So this one's kind of wide open. I'll take June, and I'll take Rolling Squids over Kappa and Shark Reef just due to recent rolling results that they got. Group G, the Night Sharks. Give me the Night Sharks all day long, baby. After seeing Night Sharks in person, commentating them losing to Purdue, but the Purdue team had Barry from Seafoam on it. But after seeing how dominant they were in CCA, and this is why I probably should have spent more time paying attention to CCA before LUTI Divs actually came out, give me Night Sharks to win this group all day long, and I'll take them as the runner-up to Epsilon. As far as second place here, Eternal Frost is the biggest question mark team. I remember they were had a really good Saturday and then had to get a new roster on Sunday of low ink. And then they had to get a new roster on Saturday and had a really good Sunday of low ink. So it's like they're the biggest all over the place. I don't know. We'll give them the credit here for second place, I'm assuming. But they have, but Lydian here, I always say these guys have a lot of potential, and they still do. But Night Sharks wins this group. I'm sorry. Another Group H, another just simple group to go through. Adentes wins this group. They're going to 5-0 this one, move on. We'll see you in playoffs. The Glitter Gel Pins, I'll say this. I didn't realize this is Inkcraft Cult rebranded, isn't it? I might have noticed that a long time ago, but it never sunk into my brain. This isn't like a new team. These guys have been playing the game for a couple of years. They just changed their name. Glitter Gel Pins, as much as I don't like glitter or gel or pins, this seems like a total mess to deal with. It's at least easier to say than Inkcraft Cult. So we'll give them credit for that. I think Dive and Inception are going to be the teams that battle it out here. I think Dive is a little bit underrated. I know Inception won a little Squid League, but Dive might be more underrated than what Inception is, so I'll give them credit for getting that spot. Div 7, and now we got to turn the page. Div 7, give me the Pond Duck Crew to hold on to their spot here. You don't rule out Origami Dragons, though. Yes, they're always finicky. Sometimes they're making beta bracket. Sometimes they're making silver bracket of LSL. Don't count them out. They're the biggest wild card here. TR Esports, I think, has a lot of upside. They've been playing a long time, but they're another one of those finicky. Sometimes they play, sometimes they don't kind of teams. But Tizuki was, I believe, a team called TZ that was in Div 5 at one point, maybe last season or a couple seasons ago. So these guys at Div 7 probably make it out of this group as well. But give me Pond Duck Crew. They showed us who they really were as of late, and that's a solid team. Group B, Scarlet Inc. would be my pick to get out of this group just because they're the only team I could legit find information about. I don't know much else about any of these other teams here. So I'm just going to give credit to Scarlet Inc. and not waste any more time than what this segment's already going on. We're move forward. Sorry. Group C. I didn't know Day Old Sushi fell down to Div 7. I'll be dead honest. They lost Sigurd, obviously, and that makes their roster a little bit iffy going forward, but I don't think they're a Div 7 team in particular. This might have been one of the teams that just fell through the cracks of all the things that were, of all the teams that signed up here. I knew they had to take a little bit of a hit because losing Sigurd is significant. There's no way you can argue against that. But Div 7 down here, I don't know about that. I don't think it's a slam dunk that they find a way to get out of this group, but they should definitely be everyone's pick to move on out from this group. Maybe Pearl Essence is the other team to go on from there. Splatterlot G, I see you. Group D. Now this is confusing because there are two teams signed up for LUTI called Redacted. This is R uppercase, everything else lowercase, but there's another Redacted team in the lower divs where everything is uppercase. Redacted at the number 1 spot here. We'll give it to them for Group D. Just a lot of unproven teams in general. IRS has played it in some tournaments, but hasn't done anything crazy and impressive. Redacted has made a gold bracket and from the ink up. Honeypot has a lot of experience as well. So if I had to take a random ass guess, we'll give Honeypot the other spot with Redacted. Group E, Honker. Okay, so these guys used to be called Honker Burger, and only you old heads will know what a Honker Burger is. I believe that was the fast food restaurant in the Doug cartoon where they would all hang out after school. Cosmic Court, though, what do I have written about Cosmic Court? They made a Gamma bracket. Like Spiral Wave, they're a new team with some experience as well. Spiral Wake, I guess I should say. Hex has made a beta bracket as of lately, though. We'll give Cosmic Court and Hex the nod here. Group F, the Radical Dreamers can make the playoffs here. There is an opportunity for Radical Dreamers to make the playoffs, and it is kind of weird because they're going up against all the college teams for some reason. Not just Michigan State, not just Kansas State. I think there's one other college team in this group as well. I think maybe this Cal Amari team, maybe. I could be wrong about that. I feel like one of these other teams I caught being a college team, but for some reason, they're in all college right here. But the Purple Cats, they're probably the strongest one. Michigan State is a little bit finicky. I think Radical Dreamers can take the spot. Radical Dreamers have made day 2 of Low Ink before, and I'm not just saying that because I know half of the Radical Dreamers are in chat right now. But here's the real question. Oh, they do play one of the teams during finals week. If Michigan State doesn't reschedule this, there's a huge opportunity for Radical Dreamers to get this win because Michigan State's going to be cramming for finals. That might be the weakness that they can slip past. If I was Michigan State, though, I would use the replay immediately. Group G. This Joseph Lapod Joestar team, I played against them in that Speed Ladder tournament. They did decently well. We beat them as we would, but they put up some fights, so we give them some credit for that. Galaxy Squids wins the award for asking the most questions in every tournament that they play in. They want to learn some information. We'll give them credit for that. GS 67P Inkjet, though. This is a pickup team that has some players from Marine Melody, Comet Blasters, and Last Ditch Effort. I like them to find a way to make it out of this group, and I'll like the Joestar squad just because of what I saw from them personally. Group H, Infinity. We haven't seen Infinity play in a while, but they're one of those teams that did mind a way to make it, did make one of those open invite tournaments that was a low-level team, so we stand them for doing that. Congratulations. I'd like Summerzite to make it out of this group as well, though. Oofish is always the dark horse of everything they do, but to Oofish's discredit, when push comes to shove, they just can't close the deal. This would be a great opportunity for them to finally get that monkey off their back, but Summerzite's proven. Team iRide kind of proven. Infinity definitely was proven when they were playing. Those guys have got a better shot. Group 8. Abyss has played in tournaments. They claim they played in a tournament by Pixel Squid, who I don't know. I don't know who Pixel Squid is, and I feel like I should be flamed for that. I feel like I should know who Pixel Squid is, but they hosted a tournament, and Abyss Inc. Put down that they did play for it, and that's all I can really say about this. This is where things start getting a little bit sus with the teams we talk about here. Hell Squids, that is a team name I definitely do recognize, but I'll give them the nod to come out of this group, and this is where this is where the predictions are going to start falling apart. Group B, this is our first arrow team. There are all kinds of arrows of fire, ice, water, earth, wind, and rain, I guess. I don't know. But Arrows of Fire is the first team we're going to be seeing here. Ikaru played decently well in Low Ink. I feel like they should get a little bit credit above this. But my goal this LUTI season is to look at all of the arrow teams and figure out how they stack up against each other. It took me years to figure out which one of the Splat-A-Lot teams were better because you can't just go in alphabetical order. It doesn't even come close to working like that. We'll keep an eye on the arrow teams as well. Group C. The Territorial Water Otters. The more we see of these guys, the more a fan of them I am becoming. I like the Territorial Water Otters, and I feel like they find a way to come out of this group unscathed. I'm definitely calling for them to make playoffs. I know they've been improving a lot. Group D, Day Old Tofu, I believe is not related to Day Old Sushi. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong about that, but I feel like it's just a coincidence they got that similar name. Tacta Rulers, though, might win this entire group. They might win this entire div. I believe it's confusing because there's Tacta Rulers, there's Tacta Coolers, there's Tacta Fuelers. There's all the, like, it's just like a Dr. Seuss name that's going on here. But this is the team that pushed Inkception to the brink in the Little Squid League that Inkception won. I feel like this is going to be my pick to win all of this one. Bitterling, it called me a homeboy for Falco's team. So be it. I feel like they can be competitive in this group. I don't know. Whip Rays are going to be strong. Bash is another one of these college teams, so it's a toss-up where they're actually at. But Bitterling can at least be competitive with all of these teams, but I like Tacta Rulers to win this whole one, even though they're the 6th spot in this one. Group E, this team TF 5 team. Am I even looking at the right one? Is my notes coming up here? Okay, so one of these teams was T5F, or maybe one of them got dropped or something like that. There must have been, I think T5F was in here and they just dropped by the time I looked at this, so I might not have any information to say about this. Squid EST, they seem to be confused about what EST stands for. That's why they got their question mark in their name. They went 4 and 5 in Speed Ladder, which is significant. It depends on who you actually play, but most teams like in this div and on down only have like a handful of wins, so we'll give credit to Squid EST in this total question mark of a group for me. Group F, Transients has potential when they went 3 and 3 in the most recent low ink. Sparkling Sea, though, is going to be streamed on Falco. Whoever they play in round 1 is going to be streamed this week on. These guys already played? It's Tuesday. It was Tuesday. They already played a match. Okay, so Arrowhead, are they associated with the arrows of fire and water and all that stuff? They're 1-0, barely escaping a win over Takoyaki. So there you go. Let's cheat a little bit. I think Arrowhead might find a way to get out of this group. How about that? Group G. Not old Squid Next Door. This Squid Next Door's team, this is not the same team that was Squid Next Door back in Splatoon 1. And it looks like that. Why are all you guys playing games already? Take a little bit of time to figure some stuff out. My God. 2 matches already done. Div 8 wasting no time. We got things to do. Let's get on a roll here. Okay, Crystal Coral winning that one against Squid Next Door. So I didn't even see that till just now. Splatolot F is going to be a strong team for people to deal with here. But where are we at? Group G, I got thrown off by all these players playing anything. Daytime Demons. They got gold in Little Squid League number 25. They actually took a game off a hook, line, and sinker and finished tied for 9th. So they got some potential here, but Crystal Coral's already won a game. How about that? Group H, for some reason, hasn't played any matches. Don't have much to say about this group in particular. In fact, Splatolot B, I believe, no, they're in Div 9. We're talking about Spirit Inc., who is one of the team that's got some DSB representation here. So they're a team that I'm going to pick. Actually, no. Tinta Shrimps. This is a combination of Tinta Shrimps Cocktails and Tinta Shrimps Tacos. This is my pick. Who did I say was going to win this one? Whoever I said, Tacta Rulers. Tacta Rulers are going to lose to Tinta Shrimps. Tinta Shrimps are going to beat everybody in this group. I forgot they were down here. Div 9, we're running out of time, and we're starting to run out of reasons to talk about people. I think the Night Logics wins this group because they are an actual established team that's got some credit here. Monsters, Inc., plural, not Monsters, Inc., possessive. I like it when you are a little bit more possessive. I like the Monsters, Inc. team with the common, the apostrophe S, instead of the plural Monsters, Mini Monsters, Inc. Group B, not the old Peer Pressure. This is my old wife's team. This is a different team that calls themselves Peer Pressure. Splatolot K, I have faith in them because you can't go wrong with the Splatolot team when you get closer down into these divs. Splatolot K did decently well when they were playing in things. Group C. The Krusty Crusaders, not to be confused with the Crustacean Crusaders. I feel like at the top here is fair. I had them at number 1 before I even looked at this. I didn't see they 5-0'd. Why are all the low-level teams playing matches on Tuesday? Wait a little bit. But they won. They got the rust out there. Another college team showing up here as well, Kansas State Catfish. Group D, the Ink Faders. The story I'll tell about the Ink Faders. What the hell? Another match? Jesus Christ. The Ink Faders, are they even in this one? No, I'm looking at Group D. My notes are getting off here. I'm trying to speed run through this because I need to go soon. Group 9, more college teams showing up here. Yes, you got a UCSD team. The Tiger Sharks represent the Rochester Institute of Technology. But Tyrant Kinsa making a statement here. 5-1 in Ink Phoenix already. All right, there you go. Group E, Color Your Melody has a lot of players that have experience in dual ink, and it's dangerous to go alone. Splat-A-Lot E, though, I think has the potential to come out of this group and win this one. Color Your Melody has a lot of experience as individuals, not as much as a team. We'll see how they play in this team setting. Group F, LCBD, Life Could Bradley Dream. What the hell does that even mean? But there's another one of those arrow teams that's showing up here, Arrows of the Fire, another team that I'm personally going to keep an eye on just because of this. Who is Bradley? What are they dreaming about? What are they cooking? Group G, the Tactifuelers, who I got confused with the Tactirulers and the Tacticulars, are down in here. So I honestly, everything I wrote down about them is 100% wrong. I don't know much about anybody here. Not sorry. Group H. Splat-A-Lot B. I looked up what biocide is. It's some sort of chemical. So this is you got the imbeciles who have the stupidest name they could come up with, and you got Splat-A-Lot B that way overthought it. So we'll give them credit. Biocide breakers getting things done. I keep wanting to call these guys Sonaria, but they're not. It's Sonata. Div 10 through 11, again, these guys just got to make a name for themselves. It's mostly just going to be me making fun of their names. You got Boba T and Tacticulios making a representation here, another along with Arrow of Fire. Boba T, I don't like Boba T. It's not my thing. My wife is a big fan. I know several people, some of my other friends who happen to be female, just so happen to like Boba T a lot more as well. Just pointing that out. Group B, the Tentacult, a part of the Tenta crew. Here's another team. The Tentarule, Cruel, Full, Jewel. Seasick has actually played in some low inks, though, and I think they're playing this upcoming month. So is Selfless Shock. I recognize that name. Group C, the RGB Rebels have made some appearances in low ink. The Squidfany. Are we going to give credit for Squidfany? I don't know. I mean, we've harshed on people making inked names. Squidfany, yeah, we'll give them credit for that. Group D, here's the funny story about the Ink Faders. They played under a different name in the speed ladder, realized there was another team that had that same exact name, so they decided to change their name to the Ink Faders, not knowing that there is a team that has been a part of the scene for like 7 years now called just straight up Ink Faders. So don't get the Ink Faders confused with Ink Faders. It's like Ohio State and the Ohio State University. But they know the Ink Faders brand as well is pretty good, so we'll see how that goes. Group E, Ink 85, they have wins in Div 7 of Season 7. The reason I would point this out, Div 7, Season 7 of LUTI was my first season. I was Div 6 that season. We were only in that div because the LUTI Council liked our name. One of the members admitted that. So these guys have been playing Splatoon as long as I have. So we'll give them credit to win this group out here. Group F, Non-Binary Fuss, is the team that actually has some experience in some other tournaments. We'll give them credit for making it out of here. Group G, The Herd, played in low ink, and there's 20 teams called Inkfinity. There has to be 1 million teams that have used the name Inkfinity over the course of time, and here we are with another Inkfinity team. Group Ace, there's a lot of nonsense going on here. First, you got Clown House, who's probably going to win this whole group and might find a way to win this whole div, being honest right here. But what's going on with here? White Ink Drinkers. What is going on here? I feel like I shouldn't harp on this too long before it becomes a meme, but what is this? In fact, we're just going to move on to Div 11 before we're even talking about that anymore. Okay. Group A of Div 11. Div 11 is a total toss-up. I think there's one team here that I've actually recognized, and it was Crab Rave down in Div D. So they probably should have found a way to get out of this grid. Oh, Infectious Krakens, they played in low ink as well. So this Group D is actually the only real competitive thing. Everything else is just a total toss-up. My wife liked the Paw Patrol team name, so we'll give them some credit for Paw Patrol. There's Monsters Inc. with the possessive S, or as opposed to the plural Monsters Inc. So we like that a little bit better. And Octos and Squids United. That's what we need more of now. We need more unitedness from the Octos and the Squids. And that's it. Oh, this team right here. Carnes Ingsada Fries. They are in CSA team. Did I write what college they're actually representing? No, I did not. So there you go. That was everything. Jeez. Ugh. That was a lot. That was a lot. We'll see you guys on Friday. We're not going to do the usual closing either. We didn't do the real opening. But as we're looking up somebody to raid, if you'd like to be part of the Popcast anyway, feel free to reach out to me. Socials below. Twitter, Mr._Popgun. Discord, PopTon. Hashtag 5882. YouTube at something. Get vaccinated. Don't die. Don't do stupid stuff. Believe in yourself. Good luck in your LUTI season. For those of you who haven't played week 1 already, what the hell?